In an interview, Hernando Sayago said, "There was nothing I could do. It was very painful to watch my sister asking for help and to realize that there was nothing I could do and nothing I could do to help in any way." The young man gave this interview after his sister was assaulted by her partner and the father of her child. That day, Hernando went with his sister Sahira to her ex-boyfriend's house for them to pick up her 3-month-old baby. But when they arrived, there was a horrific attack that ended in a fatal accident. Ceres is a city in Argentina with a population of about 25,000, located in the northwest of the province of Santa Fe in the central region of the country. It was there that Sahira Belén Sayago Chavez, the firstborn child of Mercedes Chavez and her husband, was born in 1998. The couple had a total of 7 children, 4 boys and 3 girls, but the names of only 4 children are known to the public: Sahira, the 3rd child Matias, the 4th Hernando, and the 5th Ana. In the media, the details of the life of this family were not covered in any way. It is only known that Sahira's siblings described her as a very good daughter and sister who was always ready to help and pay attention to the family. Sahira was very close to her mother. They were very loving and always supported each other. At some point, Mercedes was diagnosed with cancer, which was a big blow for Sahira and the whole family. After such a terrible diagnosis, Sahira's job was to always keep an eye on how her mother was being treated, whether she was taking all the necessary medications, and to support her with all the love and attention so that she would not give up and would be able to beat the disease. In early 2016, Sahira left her parents' home and moved in with her boyfriend, Franco David Fernandez. Franco was born in 1993 in Ercilia, a small town of only 3,000 people located about 20 kilometers southeast of Ceres. In 2013, Franco enrolled in the police academy, and the following year began serving in the 5th Regional Police Unit of the Santa Fe province, specifically as a warden in the penitentiary facilities of the city of Rafaela, which is located about 168 kilometers south of Ceres. There, Franco rose to the rank of non-commissioned officer before being assigned to Ceres Radio Electronic Command. At first, the couple lived in Sahira's parents' house, and after a couple of months, they moved to the St. Vincent neighborhood, located not far from the girls' home. Over time, it became obvious that Franco was a jealous and unstable person. Quarrels between him and Sahira very quickly escalated from verbal swearing to physical violence. Despite this, the girl made no attempt to leave him, but it is not known whether she did so out of fear or hope that he might change. In such a dysfunctional environment, in 2017, Sahira found out that she was pregnant and gave birth to their first child together on April 8, 2018. However, this miraculous event failed to strengthen the bond between Sahira and Franco, and even became a turning point, due to which the couple eventually broke up. Sahira then decided to return to her family with her son, and although Franco apparently wasn't completely on board with this decision, they decided that they would share the upbringing and care of the newborn, so the baby spent his evenings in the company of his father. It seemed that the separation went smoothly, and they were able to agree on how they would spend time with their son, but in fact it was not like that at all, and everything ended in tragedy. It happened on July 5th, 2018. On that day at around 5:30 p.m., Sahira went to her ex-partner's house to pick up her child, as she had done every night since their relationship ended. Sahira did not want to go there alone, so she asked her brother Hernando, who was a minor at the time, to accompany her. The girl said goodbye to her mother with the idea that she would be back soon, and even told her to boil water so that when they returned, they could drink mat, a popular drink consumed daily by Argentines. At that moment, Mercedes did not yet know that this would be the last time she would hear her daughter's voice. After saying goodbye, Sahira and Hernando got on the girl's motorcycle and rode it to Franco's house. Upon arrival, the girl parked and walked to the door of the house where Franco was already waiting for her. As soon as she approached, he grabbed her by the arms and forcefully pulled her into the house, preventing Hernando from entering. Despite the teenager's insistence that he let him in, the man closed the door in his face and then locked it shut. Sahira screamed for help as her ex led her into a bedroom. There, they began yelling at each other, and in the midst of the argument, Franco struck Sahira in the back of the head with the butt of his service pistol. Franco then shot the girl 3 times with the gun at very close range, and 2 of the bullets hit her, one in the left shoulder and the other in the stomach, and Sahira immediately collapsed on the bed. This was the first version of the event. Some sources say that Franco fired the shots first and only then hit her on the head, but everyone agrees that the girl died on the spot. Upon hearing the gunshots, neighbors immediately called 911 for emergency services. Hernando, for his part, who had been outside the house the whole time when he heard his sister's screams and subsequent gunshots, felt incredibly frustrated, furious, and powerless to stop the heinous crime. Franco, on the other hand, after realizing his ex-girlfriend was dead, grabbed their 3-month-old son and ran out of the house. An hour later, he was apprehended and taken to the Ceres police station. At that point, his hands and clothes were still stained with blood. There, 25-year-old Franco gave his statement, after which his weapon was seized, his license plate number was obtained, and he was placed under arrest at the same station. Around the same time, Mercedes was informed of the death of her oldest daughter, who had been her breadwinner and confidant. This news so shocked her that she fell to her knees in grief upon learning of the death of her firstborn. This crime shocked and devastated not only Sahira's family, but also all the people of Ceres, a small town that didn't even have its own forensic experts. The fact that there were no relevant specialists there meant that the crime scene was not examined until 6 hours later, when the prosecutor and forensic experts from neighboring towns arrived in Ceres. All this time, the crime scene was guarded by officers from the local police station, who arrived immediately upon a call from neighbors. The crime scene itself was examined by investigative police officers from the cities of Rafaela and San Cristobal. There, in the bedroom on the bed, they found the body of the murdered girl with 2 gunshot wounds and 3 shell casings in different corners of the room. After the position of the body was examined and all possible evidence was recorded, the body was sent to the San Cristobal Forensic Morgue. The coroner in charge of conducting the autopsy soon determined that the 20-year-old had lost a lot of blood due to the gunshots she had received, resulting in hypovolemic shock. The hypovolemic shock, along with a blow to the head that struck the parietal area, took the girl's life instantly. On a temporary basis, Sonia Bustos, a prosecutor from the neighboring city of Tostado, led the investigation in the first phase because it occurred during the 2-week recess that the entire Argentine judicial system takes at this time of year. Prosecutor Bustos acted quickly, and just 2 days later, on July 7th, Franco was charged with intentional homicide with a firearm, qualifying as feminicide. At the hearing, the prosecutor noted that the defendant acted with full knowledge of the case and a willingness to kill his former partner. The next day, Franco appeared before the preliminary criminal investigation judge, Cristina Fortunato, at the San Cristobal court, where she was to impose a precautionary measure. During the hearing, the judge decided to place Franco in indefinite pretrial detention, indicating that he would have 90 days to review the decision, and recommended that the crime be investigated as violence against a woman. In Argentina, the murder of women is under a different article and carries harsher penalties. Following Sahira's arrest and Franco's arrest, the couple's young son was placed in the custody of his maternal grandparents. Following this, on July 12, 2018, the Santa Fe Chamber of Deputies asked the Ministry of Justice to urgently appoint a prosecutor and a medical examiner to take over the case on a permanent basis, due to the delay in the investigation caused by the lack of such personnel in Ceres. Meanwhile, when the judiciary resumed operations after a 2-week hiatus, the investigation fell into the hands of prosecutor Fabia Burella of the Domestic and Sexual Violence Unit in San Cristobal. Although by then some conclusive evidence had already been presented and a confession had been obtained from the perpetrator, the investigation process and trial kept getting delayed for some reason. In mid-October, almost 3 months after the crime was committed, the prosecutor Burella ordered a ballistics analysis and sent all the collected evidence and seized service weapons to the investigative police of the city of Rosario, located in the southeast of the province of Santa Fe. Rosario is a densely populated city with no shortage of investigative manpower, but the investigative corps, again for some reason, delayed the forensic examinations and report. Thus, almost 6 months have passed since the brutal incident, and the confessed perpetrator has not been brought to justice, and according to Sahira's relatives, his place of detention was unknown. Sayago's family feared that the perpetrator might have escaped or was serving his sentence at the local police station rather than in prison. Meanwhile, Sahira's untimely death came as a heavy blow to her loved ones, who were deeply saddened but still found the strength to fight on. They tried to bring maximum attention to the case, and hence they organized a rally on the evening of Sunday, December 16, 2018, demanding justice. The event was held in front of the Mayo Pyramid, a historical monument of Ceres. Apart from Sahira's family, local feminist organizations also participated in the rally. Amidst the grief she experienced after Sahira's death and her battle with cancer, Mercedes wrote a letter and delivered it at the rally, demanding justice for all women whose cases, like Sahira's, have not been investigated and whose perpetrators have not been punished. For her, this was the only way to give some peace of mind to the families of the victims who were going through the same agony as they were. She also thanked all those who sent them messages of support and the feminist movement for raising awareness about the case. In addition, Mercedes mentioned the help they received from the municipality's team of lawyers, psychologists, and social services assistants. She concluded her speech with a special thank you to the family and friends who have been by their side throughout this time since that fateful day that changed their family's life before and after. Due to everything that had happened, amidst depression and stress, Mercedes's health deteriorated dramatically, but she still got up every day and continued to fight for a fair punishment for her daughter's killer. Sadly, just 3 months later, the woman still couldn't fight the cancer any longer and passed away on March 24, 2019, at a medical facility in the provincial capital from Santa Fe. The dedicated mother was tired of fighting the indifference of the authorities and left this world without ever seeing justice served to her daughter. Nevertheless, her older sons continued her work, trying to bring as much public attention to the cause as possible. At that time, they were going through the hardest of times. First, they faced the grief and despair of the death of their eldest and favorite sister. Then their mother died, who had been ill and in pain for a long time, and now the responsibility of caring for their younger sisters and little nephew fell upon their shoulders. Hernando, who heard all the screams and gunshots on the day of the crime, due to the shock, fear, and powerlessness he experienced, required psychological help to cope with the trauma. On the anniversary of Sahira's death, the family organized a march on Sunday, July 7th, at 5 p.m. in front of the Ceres train station to remind the public that the perpetrator was still not convicted. More people joined the march, including family and friends of the deceased, as well as concerned residents. Shortly before, Matthias, one of Sahira's brothers, published a letter in which he said that they had lived a year of great sadness and bitterness since their sister died. With pain, the young man added that their mother was finally there for her daughter in the way she wanted since the tragedy occurred. In the text, Matthias also emphasized that he and his brothers will continue to talk about Sahir and cry out for justice so that she will not be forgotten and that she and their mother will find peace in heaven after learning that the perpetrator has been punished. Nevertheless, time passed, and despite the tremendous attention to the case, there was no progress in the legal process. Franco was being held in Pinero prison in Santa Fe, but somehow he managed to get hold of a cell phone that not only allowed him to communicate with the outside world in peace, but he even created an account on a dating site where he introduced himself as a bodybuilding instructor. In February 2020, information about this began to spread in various digital media and social networks. In this regard, the prosecutor of Barela asked the authorities of the prison service to search the cell of the accused. During the procedure carried out by the officers of the institution, a latest generation cell phone was seized from him. About 5 months later, on July 3, 2020, at the end of the 2-year term provided for in the procedural code for pretrial detention, Prosecutor Barela asked for an extension of the preventive measure against Franco for another 8 months. 3 weeks later, a court hearing was held in the San Cristobal court, presided over by Judge Juan Gabriel Peralta. He upheld the prosecutor's motion and ruled to extend the detention. The judge also indicated that within that time frame, the investigation must be completed either with a formal indictment to bring the case to trial or through an expedited procedure. Due to the quarantine caused by the coronavirus pandemic, no marches or rallies could be held on the 2nd anniversary of Sahira's death. For this reason, on Sunday, July 5, 2020, the girl's family and friends, together with a feminist organization called 8EM, planted a tree in a green area of the city as a symbol of life, which was meant to be a call for the eradication of gender-based violence. Around the same time, Franco's defense filed an appeal in which they asked for the suspect's release. The The appeal hearing was held on July 29, 2020 virtually, which was also attended by Sahira's father and one of her brothers. At the hearing, the second instance judge rejected the defendant's lawyer's request and upheld the custodial measure. Finally, after nearly 8 more months, on March 4, 2021, oral and public proceedings against Franco began in the San Cristobal courts. The trial panel consisted of judges José Luis Esteves, Javier Botero, and El Consuez Marcelo. At the hearing, prosecutor Barella asked for life imprisonment for the defendant as guilty of premeditated murder, classified as gender violence, with the aggravating circumstance of using a firearm. The prosecutor reiterated that the investigation concluded that the defendant acted with full knowledge and willingness to take the victim's life. The testimonies and arguments of both sides were heard for a week, and then, on March 12, 2021, the unanimous verdict of the judges was announced. Franco David Fernandez was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of his ex-girlfriend, Sahira Belén Sayago. Prosecutor Fabia Barella expressed her absolute agreement with the verdict and emphasized that the testimony of witnesses, both in the investigation phase and during the trial, played an important role in the reconstruction of the events that took place. The defense appealed the life sentence, but on December 14, 2022, second instance judges Christian Fitz, Sergio Alvira, and Alejandro Tizon, members of the appeals chamber, dismissed the motion and all the issues that should have led to the annulment of the sentence. During this trial, the judges affirmed the qualification of the crime and the conviction. Unfortunately, around the world, and in Argentina in particular, the murder of women is not uncommon. According to the local association House of Assembly, based on a compilation of cases published in the media, in 2018 alone, when the crime against Sahira was committed, there were 273 crimes against women, which means that one girl died every 32 hours during domestic violence. Moreover, it is also known that 18 of these crimes were committed by law enforcement officials. Adding to these horrific figures is another frightening fact. These deaths left 339 children motherless, including Sahira's young son, who was only 3 months old when his mother was brutally taken away.